wow. But I feel like
Oh, you remember all the lyrics?
Yeah,
though?
I know this, but I don't think it was acid. But I took something, and I was really enjoying it in that Cascade set. I was like, shit, man, I think I want to be a DJ. And then Diplo found like one of my bootlegs. I mean, I would love to open a restaurant one day. That'd be awesome. I think I will.
Hi, this is Lauren Engel of Sidewalk. I'm here with JSTJR.
Hello.
So you were born in, was it New Hampshire or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Born in New Hampshire.
Where your
in
parents?
Nashua.
Yeah.
About like 45 minutes north of Boston, pretty much.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Are your parents from the Northeast as well?
Yeah, my mom was born and raised actually in Nashua, and my dad is from Connecticut. So yeah, we were pretty centralized to the Northeast. Yeah.
What do they do?
Well, my dad's done a lot of stuff. He like started out, I think like contracting, and then he had a t-shirt screen printing shop for some of my childhood.
Mhm.
And then that led to him having somehow having a non-profit children's like safety foundation, like an educational foundation.
That's cool.
Yeah, so my whole family pretty much took part in that like during my childhood. And that's what they still do today, actually.
Oh, they work together?
Yeah,
Oh, that's so
everyone
cool.
works together.
Wow.
Yeah, I've kind of like came here and did my own thing, but my older sister still helps out, you know, a little bit, doing her own thing. She still lives back home too, so yeah.
Where do you get your creative side from?
My creative side? I don't know, I was kind of always more creative and like off the wall kind of kid. I just always loved music and being different, kind of, you know, like it's just, I don't know where it came from, but I guess maybe supportive parents. Like I had a drum set when I was in like second grade, like not a lot of parents will like put up with that noise, you know what I mean? Like they were just always like down for, you know, feeding my creative side, I guess.
And you also did piano back then?
Yeah, I took piano lessons and drum lessons growing up. Always was in like a band starting in high school.
Like a pop punk band, right?
I was in a pop punk band. I did a lot of different music projects. I did my own like auto-tune pop music for a little while, experimented with that, and like hip hop beats and everything.
Yeah, actually, I was just gonna say, did some rapping stuff.
Yeah, I did like a couple hip hop like sample based rap songs. Oh yeah, wow. But I feel like
Oh, you remember all the lyrics?
Yeah,
though?
I know this one
When
for
was
sure.
this made?
Fuck. Well, I actually got in trouble at school and kicked out, and that's what that song is about.
Oh.
I can't remember what year though. 2010 or 11, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like 20-ish. Yeah.
What made you want to start rapping or hip hop?
I always like in high school, I didn't go to like a lot of parties and shit. I would just smoke weed with my friends and like freestyle rap basically. I would listen to a lot of like MF Doom and that kind of hip hop. So I would just like smoke weed and rap with my friends all the time. And then I was just always making music on my own, so it was just kind of like natural to try it out. I can like record it and try to do that. Yeah, I was really into it for a while. Definitely a bunch of songs. It's like, I don't have this computer that I made those on anymore, but I have a lot of beats and shit too.
Yeah. What kind of music were your parents playing in the house when you were growing up?
My dad would kind of like it was mostly just like pop music, alternative rock, like in the 90s, like just like stuff that's on the radio. I can't even think of any examples, like Third Eye Blind, like that kind of style. And I remember actually when we were like maybe around 10 or 11, like we found the pop station on the radio. It was playing like Space Jam. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, Space Jam, I love this song. And then it just like kept playing cool pop music, and I was like, damn, like we found like the pop station like on the radio, because my parents mostly listened to, I think, more like alternative. Yeah. And my dad, like, he had like Beastie Boy CDs and like Moby and some jazz and like big band. He kind of like all these random things. So he would throw on some random music sometimes that kind of just was like stuck with me.
You're also really into Ghostly International, right?
Yeah, I was super into Ghostly International.
How did you find it?
Actually, through a friend of mine, because I had like the plug on this really exclusive torrent music site called What CD? No, called Oink. Before What CD, I was on Oink. Some people will know that and be like, damn. And my friend would always be like, can you download these CDs for me and bring them in to school? So I would actually kind of like secondhand get his music taste and like have it all on my computer. So I think that was the first time I heard like ghostly artists. And then, yeah, just like totally dove into that. It's just like cool electronic down tempo, maybe like IDM, some would call it, but then like some hip hop, and I love that shit. I actually was obsessed with it and like got hit up by this woman doing
to do a documentary, right?
Yeah, I got hit up to like talk about my obsession with Ghostly pretty much, which I did terrible. I think the interview was really bad. I was like in high school, pretty young. But yeah, that's funny.
Were you and your friends known as like the music kids in high school then? You like knew all the music?
Yeah, I think so. I went to like I went to private school until high school, so I didn't have like I wasn't like the music kids, you know. I wasn't like the cool kids who like knew cool music, you know. It was like my first time in like a bigger population of people, so I would consider myself the music kid in high school, but like I didn't like, people didn't like come to me, like, you know what I mean? Like I was just kind of like off on my own. I tried to be cool, but didn't really work out.
How do you describe yourself then, back then?
Well, I was in marching band, like I played the drums.
Oh.
So I was like a cool marching band kid, you know, like, but also was like still in marching band. So like I said, like I would just go and like smoke weed with my friends and like listen to weird, obscure ghostly and like hip hop and shit like that. So, but still like also listen to like Ludacris and just like everything. But yeah, I was kind of like to myself in high school. I was in like AP classes and shit like that too. So I was kind of, I guess it was a little nerdy, but it was like I didn't do my homework, so
it just came easy to you.
Yeah, it was. I was one of those asshole kids who like got like A's and B's and like did no homework and like coasted by, you know, because I just like music and school sucks. So.
What were your favorite subjects?
Like history, I really like American history.
What about it?
Well, I'm from New England, so like a lot of it took place there, and I think that's probably what sparked my interest. But I don't know, I just like, I'm kind of a nerd about, like when I went on tour recently and just like every city we'd go to, I'd kind of just like look at the buildings and think about like hundreds of years ago how this city started, you know, like I like how places popped up in the middle of like railroad like tracks like across the country. They would just need a city somewhere to like restock the food, so then like cities exist like in the middle of nowhere because of that. So I just kind of like think about that shit and nerd out.
And then after you graduated high school, you like took a semester off, right, to do like mover?
That was after I got kicked out of school. I did moving. I took like a semester off and went to a different school after.
Oh, this was college?
Yes, yes, in college. I went to like 3 different colleges.
Yeah.
And
did you do like film and then business?
Yeah, I started off with film. And then at Hofstra, it was like really expensive, and they were just like, here's how you like turn on a camera and point it at things. So like, pretty much knew that part already. So I was like, all right, I shouldn't go to school for this.
Were you curious about film? Like, did you want to be like a
I really
director?
wanted. I was super into film. I was super into film. I made like TV shows, and that was something. That was some other interest I had. Like when I was a kid, I would use like the really shitty camcorders my family would have, and like shoot funny videos with my friends and stuff like that. So I was like, that was also one of my big interests. And
what films were you inspired by at that point, or still now?
I was like into like, I don't know if it's just because I thought they were cool, but like at that time, like Pan's Labyrinth is a really big film that I loved, like, when I was going to film school, and, like, what's that French movie about sleep? Some sleep. I really care about this, obviously. It's a huge passion of mine. Just, like, really hipster-ass movies. I really like Wes Anderson films a lot, too. Like, that kind of stuff. Artsy shit.
And what made you want to study business at the second college?
Well, that was like me being like, all right, well, studying film is like kind of a joke. Well, it was like I was more artsy and I knew how to like work all the technical shit. So I was like, if I'm gonna go to college for something and spend money, I should just learn business, because whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna work on my own. That was my reasoning. I'll just take business classes because then I'll own my own business and I'll know what to do. But that shit really sucked because it was like accounting, and I like hate math and numbers and doing that kind of stuff. So I was like, oh, I don't think I want to be a business major either. I like really was like down for a little while. I'm gonna learn this stuff.
And then?
So then I was like, all right, what else could I do? Maybe I was like, oh, I don't want to do business. I want to do art management.
What does that entail?
I was like, because I wanted to do maybe music and like...
Oh, like artists.
I don't know. Yeah, that wasn't it though, because at the college I was going to, art management was literally like museums and shit like that.
Yeah.
So I pretty much was just like, I can just take music classes and do that.
Do you feel like you learned a lot from the music classes looking back?
Well, so I started taking music classes at the college I left, got kicked out of actually, and then went back to a different college and I learned a lot at the second music college I went to. Actually had a really great teacher at that first college who taught me a bit about electronic music.
Oh.
Because I was trying to do like the electronic music major, but I was going to school in New Hampshire, and like, it wasn't like the most, it wasn't the most informative classes on electronic music. The teachers were a little more old school and like, we're doing like tape cassettes and shit.
Yeah.
So.
And you got into more like the electronic music you listened to through the Boiler Room set, right? There's one particular one you watched.
So, yeah. Well, that was what got me into like zouk bass, which was the style of music. But I re-got into electronic music as like EDM DJ music with like Rusko and that kind of dubstep. And then I went to like a music festival one summer in Massachusetts, like this touring one called Identity Fest, and I went there and like took like acid, but I don't think it was acid, but I took something and I was really enjoying it. In that Cascade set, I was like, shit, man, I think I want to be a DJ. And like I was making a lot of hip hop and like rap then. That was when I was doing that. So I was like, I'm gonna try to start making electronic music and see if I'm any good at that, which I wasn't really that good at it at first, but got me more like, I started DJing then at like really local small EDM events. It was like electro house, like that kind of style stuff.
Were you going by a different moniker at that point?
No, I was Gesture.
Already?
Yeah, I was already
How long
Gesture.
have you been Gesture?
I think so. That was in like, right when I turned 21 was actually when I had my first Gesture gig, so like 7 years now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a while. Or no, 6 years. Almost 7. It would be so it was like the end of 2011.
How did you come up with the name?
It's my initials. My name is James Stanley Tomaszewski Jr. So it's like JSTJR. And yeah, not a lot of people know that or know how to pronounce it, which is always fun. But it's as I grow, more people know it, and it's almost like a fun conversation now, like on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people, you tweeted and a lot of people were like, I thought you were like Just Junior for the longest time.
Yeah, it's like fun. I always make fun of it, so it's always like cool. At first I was like, it's not Just Junior, like, shut up. But now it's just like, I laugh at it.
How are you getting your music out there initially?
Just like SoundCloud. SoundCloud was way better back then. Like there was more of a, I don't know, it was just like cooler. People would like dig on SoundCloud and actually try to find cool music. I think that was like before reposts, you know? So it was a little different culture on SoundCloud. And like Facebook had like groups that people would actually post music in and like share. It was like the last of like music forums kind of. So that was like when I first started making zouk bass, some people picked up on it and I would get blogs to support it and just like a smaller like global bass community.
Yeah.
That was like where it kind of got incubated.
For the zouk bass stuff, were people around you making it or like?
I mean, a little bit. I was not, well, actually, kind of locally. Like one of my friends that I made my first zouk bass EP with, his DJ or producer name is Tusev, and he lived in Vermont and I lived in New Hampshire. So that was kind of cool. Like, we're these two like white dudes from New England trying to make this like Afro Portuguese music.
Yeah.
One of the first EPs of it. So yeah, we were kind of far away from each other, but there were some people making it, but it was more of like this internet community. We would just like post new music. I would post music like every week, like multiple songs a week sometimes. We kind of just like would vibe off each other and challenge each other, and someone would introduce this new like sound or like vibe, and then some other people would recreate it. It was like a really awesome time for music, especially this style of music. Like it doesn't really happen like that anymore, I feel like. But it was awesome. A lot of people were just kind of inspiring each other at the time.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever gotten backlash? Like, who's this guy making like zouk African music?
Not really. I mean, there's been like very, very isolated cases of people like doing that, but I think like I've always been really genuine and like try to like actually do something genuine and like research and put love into it and like big up people who are making it elsewhere. And I don't know, I've always like been a huge part of the community, you know, so I think that's helped. Like I'm a real genuine like part of the community.
Mm-hmm. And were you also throwing like parties in like the Northeast at that point?
I was throwing Gesture and Friends in Boston. It kind of happened randomly. Like the first one, someone was just like, hey, the room's open, do you want to throw a party? I was like, sure, I guess I'll call it Gesture and Friends. And it went really well, so we kind of just kept doing them for a couple years.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't the best. Like, Boston's kind of a hard market to crack.
I know.
Especially with...
It's so difficult because then just go there.
Yeah, it's all like bottles. It's just like bottle service mostly.
Yeah.
The people who stay there are like medical professionals and lawyers and stuff, so it's not like a great underground music.
Yeah.
But also, since I've left, I've like learned of parties that I probably would have been, like there's a lot of cool global bass stuff happening there, but it's super underground and small. That's why LA is so great, because there's so many people here who are trying to make this kind of thing happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad I left Boston, but I did learn a lot, like about throwing parties and having a local scene like that supports, you know.
Mm-hmm. And then how long after until Diplo started finding your stuff? Was he the first like big person who found your stuff?
He was the first biggest person. Like
yeah.
The zouk bass movement was started by this dude Bronco from Buraka Som Sistema, and he was pretty familiar with my stuff before Diplo was. He was a huge support, and like, yeah, he was great help for me. And then Diplo found like one of my bootlegs. I don't know if it was that summer or it might have been like that first summer that I was really working on zouk bass.
This was still when you were in school?
Yeah, I was still in school. It was like my last, I had one more semester, like a fall semester, because I took a semester off. So I had like fall semester, and like that summer before, that summer I like just broke up with a long-term girlfriend, and I was like, I'm gonna be done with school next winter, and I just need to be able to like support myself on music by then.
Yeah.
So I just like worked really hard, like all day, every day working on music. And it really worked out. Like ever since that time, I've realized that just like if you put your mind to something, you can do it, because literally that's all I did. Like I had a small chance to do something and I just worked as hard as I could. to make it happen.
And then so you graduated, and then were you already paying rent with your money? Like,
Yeah, well, I
mean.
did move back home.
Yeah.
I was just living like by my college in New Hampshire, so I lived there for a few more months after school, and that's when Diplo hit me up to work on like a major Lazer song. So I was still like living by my college then, and I was like, okay, this is tight. That's pretty cool. Like things are looking up. So then like around that time is when I moved back home, and I was like starting to think about moving to LA, pretty much. Yeah.
And then you just decided one day to move here, or was there like a big turning point?
Actually, now that I remember, it took like a whole year, because after that, I hadn't heard from Diplo like a long time. And I actually thought the song I had worked on wasn't going to come out. So that was actually kind of a hard year, just living at home and kind of like working with my parents and working on music. I still was playing some shows. Like early on, I got to travel to Peru and play, and like I was going to Miami Music Week every year. So things were pretty good, but that next year I like got to, well, I met my manager now, Danny United, came out here to play a party in LA, and kind of met him like luckily too. And that kind of started inspiring me to like, I really got to get to LA and live close to him and like start building something out there. So then yeah, I toured Australia, and then that song for Major Lazer came back around, and I got a little money for that. And I was like, all right, this is the most money I'm ever going to have. So I should move to LA right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so you moved, and then you were just living off music by that point. Like, you're already touring, you're already like...
Yeah, it's still pretty hard. I mean, it was super tough then. My girlfriend and I moved together, so splitting rent was really nice. It makes it a lot easier. Still makes it a lot easier. But we like found a place on Craigslist that was like for sublease, and it was like never saw it before we moved in, and like we got there at like 3 a.m. We packed like 2 suitcases and a couple boxes that we shipped through UPS, and like we got there and it was like roach infested and really nasty. Yeah, it was like I've never experienced that either like my whole life. So I was like, all right, this is real as fuck. So we spent a little while there. We lived there for a while. It was really tough. I was just like, started throwing a party out here too called Plugged in LA with my friends, Late Night Laggers. But it was tough at first for sure. I mean, I've only been here for 2.5 years, so this is the not so distant past, you know.
Yeah.
Like, we lived in historic Filipino town, not too far from here. But yeah, that's when like stuff really started to pick up about a year ago, I guess, and like the party started doing well, and like I played Coachella last year. And that was kind of like the Heineken House, and from that point on, it was like really felt like the local fan base was starting to grow here. Yeah.
And you did the taco stuff for the taco party.
Yeah.
What made you want to like do the different parties in LA?
Yeah, well, I just like I kind of like made the switch to like doing more moombahton and like Latin American / Mexican like inspired stuff, because like first of all, this is the neighborhoods I'm living in. Like I live like right next to Boyle Heights right now. It's just like inspiring. Like that's the kind of shit I love. So that's kind of my fan base, and I like I've always made carnita tacos is like one of my best recipes. I love cooking. So I kind of just like, it just seemed like a no-brainer to like do something different. Like I love cooking for people, and like I get as much joy out of that as I do sharing music. So it was just like
you can open a restaurant.
I mean, I would love to open a restaurant one day. That'd be awesome. I think I will.
How do you say your music has changed since the early songs you made?
Maybe they've gotten more like simple and straightforward in a good way. I think I've always like liked being really different and like switching it up, and I've kind of like eased off that a little, just to, instead of being like self-indulgent, being like, yeah, this thing I made is so cool and like different, it's more like stuff that's more easily palatable by everyone, you know what I mean? And like, I don't know. I would say definitely just simpler, but in a good way.
How would you say you've grown as a person since when you started?
Oh man, I've grown like the person I am now is like all because of music. And like I'm from New Hampshire. I didn't travel a lot as a kid. Went to like Florida and like Disney World, you know. So I didn't really experience a lot of too many different cultures or just like seeing different ways of life. So I mean, literally music has taken me all around the world, and just like everywhere I go I learn so much, and just about like people. So yeah, who I am now is completely different because of music.
What would you say have been your biggest challenges so far?
Staying true to like what I love and staying true to myself, because it's maybe not what's like super popular at the moment, but it's like what I love. I see like a lot in this EDM dance music industry. It's kind of like a lot of the same, and people like to like emulate what they see is really popular. So that's been a really big challenge, because I've been struggling to, you know, keep at it, but I'm always true to myself, even if it's like not the most popular, or, you know, like playing like a giant EDM festival. I get some like hate sometimes because I'm playing like reggaeton and moombahton and even just like throwback hip hop music. Like I like to like make a giant house party, and you know, it's like not what everybody loves. So it's just like, that's definitely the biggest challenge and struggle for me. But I've definitely made it happen.
Yeah.
And it's finally starting to kind of be like, you know, fruitful for me.
What does success look like to you?
That's a really good question. I think I'm still trying to answer that question for myself every day. I mean, I don't think I know the answer to that right now, but just like, obviously, I think this is like the really cheesy, like generic answer, but just like comfort and happiness in my own life would make me feel successful. But also like inspiring a whole like generation of music, like kind of like what Matt Deason and Diplo have done, and just like that would be really rewarding for me. I like to like pull sounds from around the world and like highlight them. So maybe some kind of like record label, like a global record label kind of thing would be a really great, that's a big goal of mine for sure.
How has your relationship with Matt Deason changed over time?
I would say it's stayed pretty consistent. I don't do a whole lot of stuff with them, but when I do, it's like something really important to me, and it's always like a pleasure to be able to work with them, because that's like a label that's inspired me from the very beginning. So yeah, I mean, I love Paul Devereaux. Musically he's one of the weirdest dudes around, and he inspires me. Like I've done an interview with him because I did a podcast for very little while, but I have an interview with him, and it's really cool. You should check it out.
Yeah.
He's just like the greatest musical mind, and he likes a lot of cool music that no one's heard of.
What does love mean to you?
What does love mean to me? I think, that's another really hard question to answer, obviously. I think love is a feeling more than it is something you can put into words, because love is pretty crazy, but something that I've more recently been really into is just how we're like all the same energy. All humans are the same energy inside different like containers, you know? So I think love truly since we're all the same, love is just like knowing that, you know? Like knowing that we're all the same in like a general sense. And like appreciating that about everyone, and like having patience with everyone, and removing your ego and dealing with other people, because we're all kind of just like putting on a show for each other sometimes. I think love between two people, maybe not like romantic love, but love between two people is like being able to take all the masks away and really understand each other as just being the same.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
What do you love about your girlfriend?
Everything. She moved to Los Angeles with me and helped me pursue my dream, so she's the best, man. She's awesome. I mean, that's the one reason, but she's always supported everything I do, and she's also a musician, and we work together on some of her stuff. So yeah, she's awesome, man. We're the same. We just like attach at the hip sometimes, and just like do everything together.
Yeah, I love that.
We're the best.
Last question. What do you want to be remembered for?
Kind of relating to what I was saying, like a struggle of mine, but I just want to be remembered for being a genuine musician who loves music and creating and inventing and being original, and like bringing art into the world and celebrating other people's great art.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.